We wish to acknowledge this land
on which the People's Memorial Association operates,
and assist families and individuals with their end-of-life needs.
For thousands of years, this traditional land has been the home
for many indigenous peoples located across eastern and western Washington,
and has provided sustenance for life to its fullest.
We are grateful to have the opportunity to respectfully work
and provide assistance to the people of this land,
and to continue this tradition of recognizing life as well as end of life.
Welcome, and thank you for joining our annual meeting of PMA members. I am Megan Walker, the president of the board of directors for both People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home. The board members and the staff appreciate your time and dedication to our mission by joining this webinar today. Your participation helps make our organization the member-focused business that we are. For 86 years, you, our members, have helped PMA advocate for everyone to have success to after-death arrangements, which reflect their personal values and resources. Our wonderful board members and staff have joined us today, and you'll have the pleasure of hearing from them throughout the meeting. I'm truly touched by the heartfelt dedication and service they bring to our community. Our board has poured their energy into nurturing our organization's future, building relationships with our service partners, and being a voice for PMA members at both state and national levels. Soon you'll learn more about the amazing things we've accomplished together. If you feel called to share your unique talents and wisdom with PMA, we'd be delighted to welcome you. We'll be sharing several meaningful opportunities to get involved today. Our compassionate staff and board members bring together diverse viewpoints and perspectives, serving as gentle guardians of your rights and wishes. People's Memorial walks alongside you with guidance and support, providing education as you navigate end-of-life decisions. The Co-op Funeral Home embraces families with tender, respectful after-death care, creating a pressure-free space where dignity comes before sales, allowing you to honor your loved ones in ways that feel personally meaningful. A couple of housekeeping matters. Due to our virtual format this year, we will ask for vocal affirmations of motions during the meeting from our board members. Then you will see a poll pop up on your screen for all of you attendees to vote on the motions. Each pop-up will have just one yay or nay for you to vote on before we move on to the next motion. Make sure to answer the pop-up promptly. We'll do one poll in a minute to approve the agenda and last year's meeting minutes, then more voting around 1:45 to vote in our state of board candidates. Throughout the meeting, we will be putting links to information in the chat box. If you click on chat in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen, the chat box should appear on the right side. Feel free to use the chat to respond to the presenter or talk with fellow PMA members in the audience. If you would like to see today's agenda, we are putting a link to that document in the chat box now. To submit questions during the webinar, please type them in the chat or use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. I'll give you a moment to find them. We will have Mateo, our member and community liaison, checking for questions, and Mateo will either address them in the chat for you or Casey will answer them live around 2:45. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel for posterity. Don't worry, we are not recording your face or voice, so participants will remain anonymous. All links posted in the chat today and a recording of this meeting will be sent to all registered attendees in the follow-up email that we will send you next week. Today, you will hear from our treasurer and executive director about last year's progress and outcomes for PMA. Our work in funeral education and advocacy remains deeply relevant and necessary in today's world. We are actively developing ways to reach communities throughout Washington that may be currently underserved. You will also hear from the managing funeral director at the Co-op Funeral Home about some of the successes and challenges faced by the Co-op Funeral Home as we adapt to our changing world. We plan for this meeting to last for 2 hours. After the mid-break at 2 o'clock, you will hear from our communications director, and our keynote speaker will be our longtime friend and ally, Katrina Spade, CEO and founder of Recompose, Washington State's and the nation's first composting funeral home. Today promises to be an exciting celebration of our shared journey as members, volunteers, and staff as we spark new connections and imagine the bright future we'll create together. And there will be a raffle giveaway towards the end of the meeting for a chance to win one of our gift baskets. If you'd like to purchase a raffle ticket for your chance to win, please make your donation through the link available in the chat now. It's a $5 minimum donation to enter, one ticket per $5 donated. We will be closing the raffle in 30 minutes, so make sure you donate now if you want to be considered to win. Since this is a board meeting, the board and members will now vote to approve the meeting minutes from the 2024 annual meeting and the agenda for today's meeting. Both materials were emailed to everyone who RSVP'd for this webinar. Mateo will drop a link in the chat for those who'd like to review them now. I make a motion to approve the minutes from last year's meeting. Can I hear a second from a sitting board member? We did get a second in the chat. I'll open the voting for all present members. You should see a pop-up window on Zoom now. There should be one question with 2 responses, yay or nay. Vote yay if you are in favor of accepting the 2024 annual meeting minutes, and then we'll proceed with today's annual meeting. And the yays have it. Thank you all for participating. And with that, we're ready to hear from the board treasurer, Louise Cotto, about our finances for the past year.
Association and the Co-op Funeral Home. I'm relatively new. I joined the board a year ago in April of 2024. Thanks to some encouragement, I volunteered to be on the finance committee. This in turn led me to take on the role of treasurer for both organizations. So I've been doing that for the last 6 to 9 months. As most of you know, People's Memorial Association has a unique business model. We're actually 2 separate legal entities. PMA is a nonprofit focused on funeral choice, education, and advocacy. It is classified as a 501c3. The Co-op Funeral Home of People's Memorial is a full-service funeral home operating out of Seattle. Its tax classification is 501c4. Both organizations are staffed with full-time employees. PMA is the only memorial association in the United States to have full-time paid staff. This makes us unique, even amongst our allies. I'm pleased to say we have been able to increase our staffing in the past year. We're committed to providing more than living wages for our wonderful staff. This enables them to work sustainably on our important and often taxing mission. Next, I'll report on the 2024 results, starting with PMA. This first chart shows the revenue sources. Let's take a closer look at the 4 highest sources of revenue for PMA. Just under half of our income came from individual giving. This has decreased slightly from the previous year. The second highest source of revenue is from memberships. 1,073 new members joined PMA in 2024. The number of new members declined compared to the previous year. However, the one-time membership fee was increased. Because of that, this income category made up 40% of our revenue, which is higher than previous years. We received 4 donated burial plots, making up 8% of our revenue. Finally, corporate and foundation giving saw a decrease from last year, making up just 4.5% of our revenue. Shifting now to PMA expenses. I want to first discuss the expenses associated with our Funeral Financial Assistance Program. We shortened this to FFA, which is what I'm going to use from this point forward because it's easier for me to say. This is the bright blue slice of the pie chart. FFA represented 6% of our total expenses. This reserved fund spent $20,000 last year, which assisted 15 families covering a portion of their funeral costs. This program has been funded by burial plot sales, grants, and individual donations from members like you. It should be noted that donations to FFA directly go to assist families in need without any overhead. Donations to general funds indirectly helps FFA as it funds the staff needed to manage inquiries and process applications. Moving on now to discuss other expenses. Our operational costs remain consistent with prior years, and our marketing efforts increased, making up 5% of our expenses. You can see that the biggest PMA expense category is payroll and benefits. This continues to make up over half of our expenses. Our mission would not be possible without the time and expertise of our talented staff. The next slide shows our staffing budget. Just 35% of our payroll expense goes to support general operations. The rest is needed to run our many programs such as educational classes and workshops, managing the FFA program, and answering questions from both members and the general public. The staff advocates for Washingtonians so they can have accessible information to make end-of-life decisions that matches their values and budgets. Next, we'll turn to the financial results for the Co-op Funeral Home. The first chart breaks down revenue. In 2024, the funeral home served more families than it did in the previous year, caring for a total of 818 people. The majority of income continues to be from PMA member clients. We continue to see cremation as the most popular choice amongst PMA families. This is followed respectively by alkaline hydrolysis, also known as aquamation, then burial, then natural organic reduction, also known as terramation. Not visible in the graph is less than 1% of income, which comes from urn and flower commissions and interest income. The adjacent chart focuses on the 2024 expenses of the Co-op Funeral Home. The majority of our expenses is categorized under payroll and benefits that support our funeral directors and administrative staff. This is followed by subcontractors who provide services like transportation, cremations, aquamations, terramations, and embalming, as well as facilities for viewings. Our subcontractor expenses have increased compared to past years. This is due to changes in our vendors, inflation, and greater interest in aquamation and terramation, which are more costly to provide. Operational costs remain consistent with past years. Not visible on the graph is less than 1% of our expenses, which went to marketing, loan interest, and charitable contributions for our carbon offsets and reforestation efforts. Thank you for your time and attention today. This concludes my treasurer report.
Hi, I'm Katie Roberts, Vice President of the Board and Chair for the Contracts Committee for People's Memorial Association. In the past year, People's Memorial Association has expanded our partnerships significantly, increasing our number of contracted funeral homes, as well as funeral adjacent providers. I am pleased to report that your PMA membership now helps you save more than ever on funeral services, merchandise such as urns and keepsakes, and even unique offerings like virtual memorial services or private boat charters for ash scattering at sea. Before diving deeper, I'd like to remind everyone what it means to partner with PMA. Our contracted providers agree to follow a strict code of conduct, ensuring that every PMA member receives respect, compassion, quality, reverence, and the highest ethical standards. Additionally, partner funeral homes commit to never applying sales pressure to PMA members. If at any point you feel these standards aren't being met, just let us know immediately. To maintain accountability, partner funeral homes share a list of served PMA members with us, which allows us to follow up with satisfaction surveys. New funeral home partners this year include in Anacortes, Safe Harbor Funeral Service. In Issaquah, we have Flintoff's Funeral Home and Crematory. In Blaine, we have Safe Harbor Funeral Service. In Tumwater, we have Funeral Alternatives of Washington. And in East Wenatchee, we have Chapel of the Valley. This brings our total number of funeral homes to 32. which is the highest in PMA's history. As a statewide organization, it's our mission, and we're committed to having partners all across Washington to ensure that our members can access services locally at their discounted rates. While we've made incredible progress, there's always room to grow. So if you know of a local funeral home that you'd like to recommend as a potential partner, please contact us at info@peoplesmemorial.org or leave us a message through our website. Now I'd like to highlight our other non-funeral home partners who offer valuable funeral adjacent services. Our partner cemeteries are Crown Hill Cemetery in Seattle, and in Longview, we have Longview Memorial Park. We've also partnered with a company called Touch Formed Memorials, which is a Seattle-based artisan urn maker offering handcrafted ceramic urns that can be shipped nationwide, and they're available at a 15% discount for PMA members. For monuments like headstones and grave markers, Pacific Coast Memorial in Everett provides these services. Just remember to coordinate with your chosen cemetery regarding any specific requirements. And for pet needs, PMA partners with Resting Waters Aquamation Pet Funeral in Seattle and Pets and Paws Cremation in Bellingham. So you can use your PMA discount with these partners as well. Our virtual service partners include Virtual Memorial Gatherings, which helps families coordinate live streamed memorial events. And lastly, for members near King County interested in ash scattering ceremonies at sea, we partner with All Star Fishing, which provides discounted private boat charters. Additionally, the Co-op Funeral Home conducts an annual sea scattering ceremony, and this is performed without next of kin present due to logistical constraints, but families do receive a certificate and GPS coordinates for future visits if you want to go visit the scattering location. That is quite a lot of partners to list. I hope some of these partnerships are new to you and that you find them useful. To explore all of our partners or to find the nearest partner funeral home, just visit peoplesmemorial.org or call our office during business hours. As a reminder, your PMA member ID card features our 24/7 time of death service number. This service connects you immediately to the closest PMA partnered funeral home anytime, day or night. We'll share that number in the meeting chat now, but it's always available on our website, on our member forms, and on your PMA ID card. And that wraps it up for me. I'll pass things over to PMA's Executive Director, Casey Husband-Brandt.
Hello, I'm Casey Husband-Brandt, the Executive Director of People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home. Thank you for joining us at this 2025 annual meeting. I love this annual opportunity to connect with the members who have helped shape this organization and also for the chance to celebrate what a special thing we have here in Washington State. As the home to the oldest memorial association in the United States, there is no state with more end-of-life options, more funeral consumer protections, and more devoted advocates ready to help you honor your legacy even after your last breath. Before I share about how I've led People's Memorial Association this past year, I'd first like to share about myself and the influences that have helped shape my leadership. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm actually an Oregonian by birth. I've called Seattle my home for 10 years now, but spent most of my young life in Salem, Oregon with my parents, Steve and Michelle, both of whom were teachers. I really think of growing up around teachers as the thing that shaped me the most. I saw firsthand how the dedication of people just like my mom improved the lives of so many. My mother even won the Salem-Keizer Public School District's Crystal Apple Award for excellence in and around the classroom. I thought someday I would follow in my parents' footsteps and become a math teacher because that work felt like it would be so positively impactful for my community. After a little detour into management consulting after college, I'm so grateful I found my way to People's Memorial Association, an organization that shares my passion for empowering people through accessible education. People's Memorial Association has time and time again provided expertise and resources to keep people informed on how to access the kind of care they desire. Even after all these years, it still remains challenging for many Americans to find the information they need to make informed choices about funeral care. So many people find themselves in substantial debt just trying to care for someone they love. Shortly after I started here at People's Memorial Association, I saw the very real consequences of that when I attended the King County Indigent Burial Ceremony in October of 2023. There's a growing number of people whose bodies are unclaimed after their passing. Unclaimed in this case means there is no family or next of kin to take ownership of a body or its funeral arrangements. In King County in particular, we found that more people than ever have no family to manage their care, and so they remain at the King County Medical Examiner's office, never to return to the care of a family. Each state handles this kind of situation differently, but here in Washington, our counties will work hard to find next of kin who will take charge of funeral affairs. But after 60 days, the county will move forward with cremating the person out of respect. The ashes of that person will remain in their custody until they are interred en masse at Mount Olivet Cemetery in Renton. The ceremony itself is really lovely, with multiple ministers of various faiths present to read scripture and honor as many cultures as possible. But it was so striking to see 306 people ending up in the care of King County instead of receiving personalized care overseen by their loved ones. I never really thought about what would happen in this kind of situation until I was standing there at this mass funeral. After the service ended, I asked an investigator at the King County Medical Examiner's office, how many of the people buried here today had no next of kin the medical examiner's office could find, versus there were family or next of kin who were identified, but they refused to take ownership of the deceased? The answer shook me. He said 80% of those laid to rest had next of kin that were identified, but for one reason or another, they were unable to perform a private funeral. And the main reason for this was cost. Long gone are the days of the $100 funeral. According to our price survey, which PMA recently conducted for 2024, the average price for a direct cremation in Washington, the most affordable of all funeral options, was $1,682. It's heartbreaking to imagine being in the situation of being unable to provide care for someone you love, like so many families in Washington are. That experience has really set the tone for my tenure at People's Memorial. There are families that are reliant on easily accessible information to find affordable care for the people they love, and they rely on People's Memorial Association to do just that. It's a real honor to be at People's Memorial and to be trusted to help people access dignified care at a uniquely vulnerable time in their life. We take that trust very seriously, and it's why we work so hard to advocate for a wide range of care options and raise up locally owned and values-aligned businesses. I can think of no better example of this than today's keynote speaker, Katrina Spade, the founder and CEO of Recompose. At a time when so many funeral businesses are being bought up by national conglomerates that work to standardize offerings across their acquisitions, Katrina dared to dream bigger. She's credited with inventing what Washington State calls natural organic reduction, but you probably know of it as human composting. This option for care is one of the most environmentally friendly ways you can be cared for after death, which we know is a major concern of many folks here in the Pacific Northwest. Her vision for lovingly returning our bodies to the earth that nurtured us is a powerful reminder of how we are writing history together. Consumer advocates, including Katrina, enabled the legalization of this option, and grassroots efforts continue to drive transformation of the death care industry across our country. Through our own community education and outreach, We hope to encourage everyone to do the important work of discussing death and dying with their loved ones. Open, honest conversation, unencumbered by profit motivations, helps ensure we receive the kind of care that is meaningful to each of us as individuals. Before diving into PMA's many programs working to improve the funeral industry across Washington State, I want to take a moment to thank you for joining us here today. As thought leaders, we are truly speaking into existence a world we want to see, not just accepting the world that is. We are here because we are all dreamers and all advocates. Whenever you need an advocate, you know you can call on us at People's Memorial and the Co-op Funeral Home. With that editorial over, I'd love to move on and share with you some organizational headlines from our 2024 annual report. For anyone looking to read about the goings-on of People's Memorial, check out our annual report, available now through the link in the chat or on our website at peoplesmemorial.org/report. Each year, we report on our activities, financials, and everything else in this one document and put it online for free. Sadly, it is too expensive to print and ship this report to all 72,000 PMA members, but we will send a copy to any member who requests it and can submit a small donation to help cover the costs of printing and shipping. See the link in the chat now to request a paper copy of the annual report. One of PMA's most important projects is connecting our members to partner funeral homes so they can receive their 15% discount on services and merchandise and ensure they receive service up to PMA's exceptional standard. The staff and I ask every partner funeral home to send us a monthly list of PMA members served, and we send each of those families a satisfaction survey. I'm proud to say that of the over 1,100 PMA members who were served by PMA partner funeral homes last year, over 97% of them were satisfied with their funeral home experience. One of the other important factors we check for is whether that family received any upselling pressure while at the funeral home. And I'm pleased to say that 98% of survey responders received no upselling pressure at all. We send these surveys so PMA can know who is not meeting our standards and investigate with that funeral home that they are upholding our values and contract. 98% is good, but I won't be satisfied until we see 100% satisfaction and no upselling scores year after year. And if you are a PMA member going through a funeral arrangement process, I'll remind you that you can call on People's Memorial to help you if you think you are being charged for something that you don't want, or even understanding the nuances of your bill, like how death certificates require a county fee that do vary by county. Wherever you are in the planning or arrangement process, you have access to our industry expert staff to make sure that you aren't alone during this difficult time. To help fight the funeral poverty problem I mentioned, People's Memorial Association started its Funeral Financial Assistance Fund, where individuals can apply for grants of up to $1,200 to go towards their end-of-life arrangements. The only qualifiers this fund checks for are that the families requesting are below the median income based on their zip code and household size, and they are using a PMA partnered funeral home so we can ensure they're receiving quality care that PMA can stand behind. Since its inception, the Funeral Financial Assistance Fund has supported nearly 150 families and dispensed over $107,000. In 2024, we supported 23 families with grants to help them cover their funeral expenses, so these families don't have to choose between paying for a funeral and paying for rent. This may seem like a small number, and I agree the problem is larger than our organization alone can provide for. Our program received over 120 applications in 2024. To be able to help more families, we need to find larger and more substantial funding sources for this program. Today, the Funeral Financial Assistance Program is funded primarily through burial plot sales, thanks to the generous donations of various PMA members and friends, over the years. You can donate directly to our Funeral Financial Assistance Fund through our website or the link in the chat, and we do dedicate our December Giving Tuesday fundraiser entirely towards funding this program for the year. But the problem continues to grow. If you find yourself in a financial place to take on more than just your family's arrangements, please consider donating to support those who cannot afford these often unexpected funeral expenses. In 2024, People's Memorial Association conducted another of our biennial state funeral home price surveys. We called and knocked on the doors of over 220 funeral homes to collect their price lists and post the prices on our website for easy apples-to-apples price comparison. This vital tool has helped regulators monitor the goings-on of the funeral industry since the 1970s. I'll share a couple of the headline statistics here, but please visit peoplesmemorial.org/price survey for the full report, including a downloadable spreadsheet so you can dig into the numbers yourself. Of the 225 funeral homes we surveyed, 43% of them are now offering alkaline hydrolysis, and 40% are offering natural organic reduction. This is a good adoption of the green disposition methods that were legalized in 2019, but I'm a touch surprised those percentages aren't higher. The average price of a cremation did increase again to $1,682. Similar to last year's, the price variancy is over 700%, so where you're shopping determines how much savings you can hope to see, with the most expensive direct cremation in the state clocking in at $3,435. The average cost of a direct burial, which I'll remind you is without the cemetery fees, the opening and closing fees, and the price of the burial plot itself, is $2,439. Surprisingly, the average price of a direct alkaline hydrolysis service went up to $2,570. I suspect that is because demand for this service remains low, with less than 1% of all Washingtonians choosing alkaline hydrolysis in 2024, but I do hope that price trends downward as demand increases. I'd like to extend my thanks to the volunteers named on the screen. They donated hours and hours of asking funeral homes for information and helping us organize all that irregularity into the consumer-ready report you can find online at peoplesmemorial.org/price survey. I cannot understate what a powerful tool this is for social workers and hospice staff that rely on People's Memorial Association for accurate, unbiased information on funeral homes all across the state. And I'm honored that this is a tool PMA puts out to the public for free. In addition to being a board member, there are other ways you can volunteer to get involved. If you're interested in volunteering, please visit peoplesmemorial.org/volunteer to let us know. This is great if you want to come to one of our in-person events, help us table at an event like a farmer's market, or maybe you want to teach our Ducks in a Row class in your community. Another exciting thing that happened last July was I was featured in a Seattle Times article titled "Seattle Area Funerals Are Costly. Here's Why and How You Can Plan." I was very excited to share some of PMA's hard-earned knowledge with this audience. If you're looking for a good introduction to PMA to share with a loved one, this article might be a good introduction. I was also excited to see a December article titled 5 years after its legalization in Washington, Human Composting Takes Root. As you all likely know, PMA was a key advocate organization back in 2019 when the law SB 5001 was passed, legalizing natural organic reduction, the legal name for the method more commonly known as composting, and alkaline hydrolysis as disposition methods. I'm very proud Washington has been leading the nation in adopting these greener funeral methods, and we could not have done it without the voices of all of you who wrote into your state legislators. We at PMA are always looking for ways to get our name out in the community to catch people before they need funeral services. And these two Seattle Times articles are wonderful tools for introducing new people to PMA. But now and always, our best source of new members is referrals by existing members like you. If you've ever told a friend about our organization or encouraged them to become a member, thank you. From me and the long line of staff and volunteers who have made this organization what it is today. Okay, the Casey who is attending this meeting live is about to pull a report of all the people who have bought raffle tickets, so this is officially your last chance to buy raffle tickets. These give you a chance to win one of the gift baskets we are giving away today, so don't wait any longer to buy a raffle ticket. You will hear more from me live towards the end of this program after Katrina Spade gives our keynote. Did you make a donation? More than 80% of PMA's budget is powered by donations. So thank you for paying me and our lovely staff to be here today and every day to answer your end-of-life planning questions. The staff at People's Memorial Association is more than just me, and I'd love to take a moment to introduce each member of our team. Kim Forsyth is our Business and Finance Director. You may recognize Kim from her years of funeral director service with the Co-op Funeral Home, dating all the way back to its opening in 2007. After serving as managing funeral director, Kim hung up her black clothes for her current position with PMA. Kim, we're lucky to be celebrating 18 years of your compassion and determination with us. Mateo Seger is our member and community liaison. He joined our team last year and has touched nearly all the mail that has left our office during that time, as well as worked tirelessly with members and community partners to grow People's Memorial Association. Jessica Hauser is the newest member to our team, serving as our administrative assistant and the first person most members will speak to if they give our office a call or send us an email. She's learned a lot in these past 3 months, and her kind demeanor and professionalism has made her an excellent fit with the rest of our team. Beverly Trick is our communications director and has been teaching classes and writing newsletters for PMA since she joined as an administrative assistant back in 2019. I'm sure most of you listening are most familiar with Beverly after she's made appearances in your community centers and at years of PMA events through the past. With a heavy heart, I must let you all know that this will be Beverly's last year with People's Memorial, as she's moved on to her dream of becoming Dr. Trick. I hope you all welcome me in congratulating Beverly for her acceptance to medical school this fall. We will miss her brain, her spunk, but most of all, we wish her the best as she tackles this next phase of her career.
Hello, I'm Dennis Barnes, Chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for People's Memorial Association. Since its founding in 1939, PMA has been dedicated to serving all of Washington in their end-of-life needs. We provide educational services, including our Ducks in a Row series, now held in multiple languages. Our staff embraces and accommodates a wide range of cultural, religious, and personal end-of-life practices, providing ease of mind for families in a vulnerable moment. Our funeral financial aid program helps offset funeral home expenses for those who otherwise may not be able to afford the costs. And PMA has long supported work to provide options in funeral practices, as you will hear further in today's program. As we move into our 87th year, we work to expand and enrich PMA's service to Washington residents. Our goals include expanding our geographic coverage and our understanding of the needs of underserved communities. We strive to live PMA's values of respect, compassion, innovation, cooperation, advocacy, sustainability, and ethics, and to reflect those values in our service to all of Washington. PMA offers options to families in their time of need.
Next, I'd like to introduce our slate of board candidates who wish to join the board of People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home. Our board is a volunteer board, meaning there's no financial commitment required to help lead our nonprofit, only a commitment of time to advance our mission of funeral choice, education, and advocacy in Washington state. Each board term is for 3 years unless there are extenuating circumstances. Thank you to all these wonderful people for taking time out of their busy schedules to give some time to this organization we hold near and dear. There are 3 board member seats we'll be voting on today, so let's get started. I'll introduce each candidate as a Zoom poll is put on screen for you to vote on. Please vote yay or nay for each candidate, and we will close and review the votes in 1 minute, so please vote quickly. Our first board member candidate is Janice Jackson Haley. Janice was first elected to the board in 2023 to fill a departing board member seat and is seeking re-election this year in 2025 to start a new 3-year term. Janice is a certified end-of-life caregiver, providing end-of-life care and support to patients and their families. She also serves as a hospice social worker for Heart and Soul Hospice, an organization committed to a new way of doing hospice care, to remove the misconceptions of who hospice helps, and to end the stigmas about end-of-life care. She was called to death care work many years ago when she decided to devote her life to helping others die with dignity. It is Janice's mission to advocate for the dignity and care of all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status at the end of their lives. In addition to being a PMA member, she is a member of the International End-of-Life Doula Association and a Sacred Passing in Seattle. We'll wait just a moment for poll results. The yeas have it. Thank you, Janice, for committing to another term on our board. Our next board member candidate is Liz White. Liz was born and raised in the Central Valley of California and went to college in San Francisco, where she met her late husband. After earning 2 degrees, she returned to school and became a nurse and went on to spend over 40 years as an operating room nurse. After many years in San Francisco, she decided to move to Seattle and resettled in the University District in Seattle. Liz became aware of People's Memorial Association over 20 years ago when her late husband entered hospice during the final phase of his cancer journey. Liz has been proud to support PMA both as a donor and as a volunteer on the PMA Finance Committee. As a retired nurse and an elder herself, she states, quote, "I am acutely aware of the need to educate and to further our awareness of end-of-life issues and concerns. The more appropriate information we have, the better we will be to make the best choices for ourselves and your family. Thank you for considering me as a member of the PMA board." Last chance to get in your vote, and we'll see what the results are. The yeas have it again. Welcome Liz White to the board. Our next board member candidate is Elizabeth Copeland. Elizabeth is a 40-plus year marketing and public relations veteran who got her start as a struggling actor in New York City in 1972. Elizabeth completed college and went on to become managing editor of Chief Executive Magazine in New York. She's proud to have lent her consulting talents to Fortune 500 companies in California and Big 8 accounting firms in the Northwest. She's just as proud to have lent her skills to the boards of local arts and theater organizations in the Seattle area, as the arts hold a very special place in her heart. In 2016, Elizabeth developed the groundbreaking play Grief Dialogues and built the nonprofit Grief Dialogues, a theatrical movement creating new conversations about dying, death, and grief. Elizabeth's play Till Death opened off-Broadway in November 2023, and she has a few more projects up her sleeve yet. And the yeas have it again. Welcome, Elizabeth, to the board. Our fourth board member candidate is Jason Roberts. Originally from the Midwest and East Coast, Jason has lived in the Seattle area for the last 20 years. He grew up in a home of healthcare providers and volunteered as an EMT through graduate school. Jason says, "Watching my family navigate the end-of-life experiences for all 4 of my grandparents in the last decade has shown me how challenging this process can be, even for those that are well prepared. I believe in the mission of People's Memorial, particularly in ensuring that families navigating an extremely trying time can find support, compassion, and respect. I'm excited to see People's Memorial Association continue to innovate and advocate for Washington State residents during their time of loss. We are about to close the poll. And the yeas have it again. Welcome, Jason, to the board. Thank you so much, everyone, for bearing with our voting process. And thank you to our new 2025 Board of Directors. I'm very pleased to have such a skilled set of volunteers leading People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home. And now I'd like to introduce a very special member of the staff at the Co-op Funeral Home, Managing Funeral Director, Chris Ronk.
Hello, I'm Chris Ronk, the Managing Funeral Director of the Co-op Funeral Home of People's Memorial, located at the top of Queen Anne Hill in Seattle, Washington. We serve members residing in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties, and are the fourth busiest funeral home in King County. We serve 1 in 12 families who experience a loss in King County. I started at the Co-op Funeral Home as a funeral director intern in 2007 when the People's Memorial Association opened the Co-op Funeral Home. In 2023, I was honored to be promoted to the Managing Funeral Director, and now I have the privilege of overseeing our wonderful staff as they serve the hundreds of families that rely on the Co-op Funeral Home for services each year. I really want to thank you for your continued support and trust in us. It means a lot. To start off, I'd like to show you this graph of the number of families served by our team. In 2024, we served a grand total of 818 families. This trend shows us on the rise from our 2023 families served, but still lower than the 2020 peak, which was the most the co-op ever recorded. Of those 818 families in 2024, 81% of them chose direct cremation. For those of you who follow us year after year, 81% is slightly lower than previous years, which means we handled more cases that were burials, alkaline hydrolysis, and natural organic reduction than ever before. We're thrilled that our expanded staff capacity and service partnerships have allowed us to fulfill these requests for you. As a not-for-profit funeral home, we remain committed to providing a zero sales pressure environment for families while proudly offering all service options that are legal in Washington State. I don't do this all by myself, of course. I would like to take a moment to introduce and celebrate the rest of the staff of the Co-op Funeral Home. The individuals you're about to meet or have met already often sacrifice their evenings, nights, and weekends to work hard to meet your needs whenever they may arise around the clock. Casey Hussman-Brandt is our phenomenal executive director, helping each of us thrive in our individual roles and nurturing our organization to continued success. From IT help to strategic visioning, Casey does it all. I especially appreciate the deep personal care for each member of our staff, especially myself, making sure we're taking good care of ourselves in order to be sustainable in the face of the demands of this hard work. Thank you, Casey. Ariana Bates is dually licensed as a funeral director and life insurance agent. This means that in addition to providing exceptional funeral care on an at-need basis, she is also fully equipped and qualified to help you set aside funds for future death care needs. Ariana's thorough attention to detail and methodical approach ensure that every loose end will be tied up as neatly and promptly as possible. Serving each family as though they were her own, Ariana's clients are in good hands. Kylie Whiting is another of our phenomenal licensed funeral directors. Her clear and efficient communication style is one of her many valuable attributes. Her talent for organization has made our office a more pleasant and efficient place to work, and her ability to format legal documents has augmented our internal resource library in ways that streamline our ability to serve your needs. If you've ever signed a form for our funeral home, Kylie has touched your life. Thank you, Kylie. Bill McNamara is the newest addition to our team and is a funeral director intern. He brings with him years of experience in ministry and has been building on that foundation by learning the skills of our profession very quickly. Families have expressed such gratitude for his gentle kindness and compassionate professionalism every step of the way. We look forward to Bill's internship journey culminating in full licensure, and we're so glad to have him on our team. Rachel LeBlanc is our administrative assistant and former funeral director, as some of you may remember. We were very pleased to welcome Rachel back to the organization after some time away to take care of herself. And you'll be seeing more from her soon as she transitions into a role of communications director at People's Memorial Association this summer. We're going to miss you a lot on the funeral home side, Rachel, and I know that our client families will too. Last, but certainly not least, Brendan Diefenbach is our office manager. No task or project is too large or small for Brendan to complete. From fielding phone calls to releasing certificates and urns and everything in between, and I do mean everything, Brendan makes the magic happen at the Co-op Funeral Home and is the reason that our operations run as smoothly as they do. Thank you, Brendan. I can't adequately express my deep personal gratitude to each member of our team for their hard work and dedication to this profession, our organization, and the hundreds of families we serve each year. It's my privilege to get to work with such incredibly talented and devoted individuals. To paraphrase Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as she toasted Prince Philip on their golden wedding anniversary, these 6 people have, quite simply, been our strength and stay, and we owe them a debt greater than they would ever claim or that we will ever know. Thank you. Next up is my personal favorite part of the annual meeting, our scheduled break. So I encourage you to take this opportunity to stand up and stretch your legs and take a big deep breath and refill your beverage and come back in about 10 minutes where we will hear more from our soon-to-be communications director, Rachel LeBlanc. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Rachel LeBlanc. As both Casey and Chris have already introduced, I am the incoming communications director for both People's Memorial Association as well as the Co-op Funeral Home. Some of you might recognize me already from the few years that I served at the Co-op Funeral Home as a funeral director. Fortunately, I had to take a little bit of a hiatus, but I couldn't stay away, couldn't resist Chris's charms. So here I am back for the last year, and I am absolutely thrilled to be Beverly Trick's successor. I've done some webinars for her over the years. I've also joined her in the last year or two going out to the community for in-person educational classes. So absolutely thrilled to have this opportunity. And they're going to be pretty big shoes to fill, I gotta say, especially when we look back at what happened all in 2024. So let's dig into the accomplishments. Indeed, 2024 was a year of firsts for our community education. Our very first time facilitating a book club with the King County Library System, our first time teaching Ducks in a Row entirely in Spanish through a partnership with the Seattle Public Library. Definitely stay tuned for more opportunities for that workshop in other languages besides English. And our first time, our most requested class was about green funerals. Seems more and more Washingtonians are so interested in green funerals that People's Memorial was invited to sit on 5 different panels to talk about the environmental impact of funerals and what options are available to help reduce that impact. If that's a subject that interests you too, remember to check out our YouTube channel or the webinar library on our website for recordings of previous classes that tackle those topics. And we bet after today's keynote speaker's talk, Katrina, you'll be curious about greener funeral options too. Further looking back at last year, we traveled nearly 1,200 miles, 1,200 miles around Washington to bring essential information about funeral options to the folks who needed it. We absolutely loved meeting people in person, answering all of your questions, and getting to know different communities around the state. We taught 20 classes and tabled at 11 community events in that going around the state. And Beverly also conducted training for hospice social workers right here in Seattle. Because after all, it's not just our members that need information about the options for care available to our citizens. Healthcare staff support so many of our loved ones at the end of their lives, and we want to make sure that everyone has easy access to core information that families rely on, like the price survey. For many folks, the nursing and social work teams at local hospitals are who they learn about People's Memorial from first. And we're very, very proud and grateful to be a trusted part of that continuum of care. Because, you know, being able to offer reliable, easy to understand educational resources to all is only possible through those collaborations with community partners and members just like you. So if you'd like us to come out to your residential community, your church or organization, please give us a call or send us an email anytime. We'd love to get to know how we can better support you and your neighbors. Maybe you're more of a stay-at-home, read things at your own pace type person, and that's totally fine. We do have our Ducks in a Row series available. Thanks to our pals at the Seattle Public Library, we have fresh recordings of that series from a recent offering over in West Seattle, so definitely available on our website. And actually, we're going to put a link right now in the chat so you can just easily click it at this moment if that sounds good to you. If you've been all caught up on that info, please feel free to share it with friends or family that could also use that little push, getting their wishes and final options organized and down in writing. And you'll notice that this year's annual report includes copies of essential planning documents like the disposition authorization and designated agent forms. You may find yourself wanting to update your paperwork after learning about alkaline hydrolysis or home funerals, and we wanted to make that easy on you. Also, you may want to refresh those forms every 10 years. Or at least review them, because maybe you've had a major life event like a death or a marriage in the family that might have changed who qualifies as your next of kin. We're going to put that link right now in the chat for you to download those member forms and have them printed out. They are available to everyone at no cost as part of our commitment to making funeral planning more accessible and supportive for all. So if you know someone who might benefit from the planning forms, again, they're free. We encourage you to share them. You don't need to be a member in order to use those forms. We've been at this for 86 years. And that entire time, People's Memorial has been committed to ensuring that all Washingtonians have access to the information they need about essential end-of-life subjects, like estate planning, advanced directives for healthcare, and funeral options. We know navigating these topics can be really heavy, but we're definitely here to help and lighten that load. Part of that lightening the load to make things easier as a member, you know, over your lifetime, we do keep a monthly e-newsletter, and it's the fastest way to hear about upcoming events like educational classes and changes to legislation that we may have been working on. Please sign up for the newsletter today. Encourage a friend to sign up. Maybe they have been on the fence about whether or not to be a member. And so the e-newsletter is going to really lay out for them the benefits of becoming a member. We do digital newsletters, unfortunately, because of how expensive it is to send mail to our 72,000 members that are still alive. So if that's not you, if you're not an email person, you can always request mailed materials. But we also welcome and appreciate donations to help cover those mailing costs as well, help make it a little less expensive for us. One of the most popular questions we get is, what PMA partnered funeral home is closest to me? As mentioned earlier, we've been working to expand the list of contracted providers, and we have a new list ready for you to download. Please download the latest partner funeral home price list on our website, or again, give us a call, and like everything else, we'll be happy to mail a copy to you. We definitely work hard to keep our website up to date with current funeral homes and their prices, so you can always check there for the most up-to-date information. One thing I'm happy to announce is PMA's Sally Brown Volunteer of the Year Award. This award is given to a PMA volunteer who exemplifies our values and goes above and beyond in their donation of time and passion in furthering the mission of People's Memorial Association. And this year, we are all super proud to say that the 2024 Volunteer of the Year is Louise Cotto. Basically, Louise has been just working hard since the day she joined the board last year in 2024, quickly elevating her service to the board treasurer. She brings to us years of experience as a medical worker and social services administrator, so she definitely comes with a lot of breadth of knowledge. And she has served on our governance committee, diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and our development committee. So again, she has just been kicking it, taking names the whole time. She was also the first volunteer when we really needed help at a crucial time to come into the office and help answer member questions. So because of her wholehearted willingness to throw in on our mission, we honor her with this award. Deep appreciation, Louise. Okay, enough with me. A moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for. I'm super thrilled to introduce a longtime People's Memorial ally and today's keynote speaker. Her research set the groundwork for Washington to be the first state to legalize a new method of end-of-life care focused on environmental consciousness. She's known around the world as a death care pioneer and is the founder and CEO of Recompose, a green funeral home here in Seattle, Washington. Please welcome Katrina Spade.
Hello there. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. I am Katrina Spade. I'm now about 10 years older than that photograph, but I can't let it go. And I'm thrilled to be speaking to you today about human composting and Recompose and where we've come over the last too many years, dozen years or so. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna share some slides with you all so you can join me visually. Let's see here. All right. Well, now I can't see everyone, but I think you can all see these slides. Is that correct? Tell me if you can in the chat. Great. Yes. Okay, then. You know, we recently had a client leave some feedback for us, and they said, "Thank you for taking care of my dad. Because of you, we were able to grow something beautiful in death." And so I just love the way that sounded so much. So that's the title of this presentation for you today. Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you about what Recompose is, if you haven't heard of us before. And then I'm going to go into some of the details of what human composting is, and then after that, talk through some of the history. And I do look forward to some questions from Casey after this talk. So I'll get through these slides. Hopefully you'll be enlightened, and then we'll hear from Casey and get to do a little bit of conversation there. So Recompose is a company based in Seattle, and we are a full service funeral home specializing in human composting. That's the only form of disposition we offer. We don't cremate, we don't bury, we only compost humans. Recompose developed the process of human composting, often called and formally called and legally called natural organic reduction, or NOR. And we brought that death care option to market. To date, we've served over 500 clients, transforming their bodies into soil. And we also have over 2,000 people in our pre-compose membership. That's our pre-arrangement trust. What is human composting? My favorite way of describing this process is that it is really mimicking what's happening on the forest floor. Look at this beautiful photograph. There's this massive log. It's got to be the Pacific Northwest. And that log is decomposing. It's organic material. And over time, with moisture and aeration from breezes and rain, it decomposes to create topsoil. We're also familiar with that process. If, anytime you've walked in the forest, dug down just a couple inches under the leaf litter, you've seen that beautiful process of natural decomposition. Human composting is taking that very same process and managing it, right? So it's not putting a body out in the forest, although that's another beautiful death care option that you can learn about another time. It's actually managing in specially designed vessels, which I'll show you in a moment, this process of natural decomposition. And what we're creating in the end is compost. For various reasons, we often shorthand that to soil. And that resultant soil is safe for use on plants and trees and gardens. This is an alternative to cremation and burial. So it's another form of disposition, which is what we do with the physical body when someone dies. I said this was a process that was highly, carefully managed, and it happens inside of a Recompose composting vessel. This is a shot of a Recompose vessel. You can see it's made of stainless steel. We have then these vessels inside a state-of-the-art facility. And so again, the process is taking what nature does best, but really doing it in a way that both ensures its safety and efficacy, and also the proper chain of custody and care of the person's body, and a very kind of managed timeline and flow. In terms of timeline, this process takes between 8 and 12 weeks at Recompose. So that's 2 to 3 months. It's not a rapid process like you might be used to with cremation. And as a side note, some of our clients have talked about the value and the beauty of that time, and between when someone has died and when you receive back the soil from the process. And importantly, human composting produces about a cubic yard of soil. That's a large box, 3 by 3 by 3 feet. You can also think of it as enough to fill the bed of a small pickup truck. And that's because we use so much plant material in the process. The body is only a small fraction, actually, of the mass. The rest of what we're using to compost a body is wood chips, alfalfa, and straw. And we use quite a bit of that plant material in order to have a beautiful resultant material. So if you've been to a tour of Recompose, you have seen this very space. This is our array of composting vessels in our Soto facility. It's south of downtown. And on the left here, you can also see our threshold vessel. This is the vessel that we use as a doorway from our gathering space, which is our ceremonial space, to pass the body through to our composting space. And, well, let's see. A side note and a sort of interesting factoid is that my brother-in-law, who is an engineer, helped design these vessels with me, came up with the hexagonal look and feel. Side note, hexagons are a wonderful structure, have great structural properties, and also remind us of the birds and the bees and nature, and also look a little bit sci-fi. So inside of each of these composting vessels, we lay a mixture of wood chips, alfalfa, and straw. We then place the person's body on top of that mixture and cover it with more of the same. Over the next few weeks, the body and the wood chips and the material are worked on by beneficial bacteria and microbes. These are microbes that exist in nature. They're on us today. They're on me right now. They're on the wood chips. They exist in the air. And they break organic material down, again, much like we saw in that forest shot. These vessels are also recording temperature, and that's important because high temperatures created by microbial activity are what makes this process safe and what reduces harmful pathogens so that the resultant soil can be used safely on plants and trees and gardens. If you're wondering if we rotate these vessels, the answer is yes. About a week into the process, we rotate the vessel slowly at Recompose, it's about 45 minutes to an hour, slowly, and then let it stay still again for another week when we rotate again. If any of you have composted, you know how important aeration is to the process. So when we rotate, that is to ensure that there's oxygen reaching all of the organic material and also allowing those microbes to keep doing their work. Oops. Okay. I have recently learned that only some people are choosing human composting because of the environmental benefits, which I have to say makes me very happy. When I started thinking about this process, I was disappointed by the environmental footprint, the carbon footprint, and the pollution caused by cremation and burial. And so human composting to me was a solution to those practices, a way to make death care sustainable. But I love that some people are choosing human composting because it just feels right to them, and or because they've been to Recompose and they have met our team and want to work with us, or because they love the idea of being in a garden someday. All of these are valid reasons. You can choose any death care choice you want for a variety of reasons, but I do want to share some of the environmental benefits of human composting. First, we're creating soil instead of ashes from cremation, for example, and it requires very little land. I said no land here, but obviously you do need a building in which to compost people, so the land required is quite a bit less than a cemetery or burial ground. Human composting uses 87% less energy compared to cremation, and it saves over a metric ton of carbon per person compared to both cremation and conventional burial. And another benefit that's in the environmental category is that this compost, this soil, is great for plants, trees, and gardens, which kind of feeds into the carbon savings in that you're encouraging growth of plants and trees. And, I think also feeds into the fact that this process is meaningful for lots of folks. I want to just touch on the history of human composting and how it came to be. In 2013, I was finishing my graduate degree at University of Massachusetts Amherst, and my thesis was titled "A Space for the Urban Dead." And it was about creating a place in which humans could be composted. And the main thrust of the thesis, which I still believe today, is that the basis for all of life on Earth really is, when you think about it, is soil. And so if we can create soil in our cities, that's a beautiful way to be able to bring nature into the city. And if we can do that with our bodies after we die, again, what a lovely way to be folded back into our communities after we are no longer living. So my graduate thesis was 2013. 2014-15, I worked hard to understand if anyone but my parents would be interested in human composting. They were early supporters and very kind to say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, but I had to really make sure that there were folks beyond my parents that would want this as an option. And this picture is me, obviously, and then Dr. Lynn Carpenter Boggs, who was one of the experts that I connected with early days. As a side note, I'll say that much of this work has been connecting with great people, experts in law, in biology, in soil science, in engineering, and working with people like all of you at People's Memorial Association on legislative advocacy, which I'll get to in a minute. So I hooked up with Dr. Lynn Carpenter Boggs, who is the expert in livestock composting. Livestock composting has been happening all over the US for decades. It's really well researched and proven to be a very safe and effective way of recycling farm animals back to the land. And so when I found out about that process, and this was during my graduate program, I thought, wow, there's no question if you can compost a cow, you can compost a human. And so I then called Dr. Carpenter Boggs, and she and I started working together. In 2016, we launched a pilot study at Washington State University where we composted 6 human bodies, all of whom had donated their bodies to us before they died, to show that the process was indeed safe and could be done. Again, we knew it could be done. We were pretty darn sure because of the livestock research, but we knew that really in order to bring it to the Washington State Legislature, we should prove that it was safe and effective for humans. So we did this study, and this is Lynn and I in front of the pilot composter at Washington State University. We then brought the results of that study to the Washington State Legislature. And in 2019, a bill was introduced to add natural organic reduction to the slate of allowable methods of disposition. And then in 2020, Recompose opened its doors. Let's talk about legislative advocacy for a minute. All right. This map keeps growing and growing. I can't wait to see what happens after this summer when we get through another bunch of sessions. But gosh, it feels like a lifetime ago. But Recompose led legislation efforts. In 2019, we were alongside People's Memorial Association and the Co-op Funeral Home of People's Memorial. I should have put the picture of us all cheering in front of the computer when the bill passed, but I also wanted to show you this map. But you can imagine the power of having folks who were funeral directors, loved ones who care deeply about more sustainable options when you die. And we had PMA members writing in letters to say, this is important to me. And I know that one person wrote in, I think she was about 95 years old, and she wrote her legislator and said, look, this needs to happen now. I don't have a whole lot of time to wait. And those kind of grassroots efforts actually got the bill passed. So again, the bill passed in 2019. It was in a bill that actually also legalized alkaline hydrolysis. So we got to really up the ante of disposition options that were sustainable. So Washington State became the most sustainable death care state in the country overnight. Recompose worked with the Department of Licensing and Board of Health to create the regulations that would guide operators to safely do this process. And that was a year-long process, writing those regulations. And then in 2020, the law went into effect. The legal definition of human composting, or in the legal parlance, natural organic reduction, is the contained, accelerated conversion of human remains to soil. And I think that's interesting because it gets back to what human composting is. It's taking what's happening on the forest floor and out in the world with natural decomposition, and it is containing it, and by doing so, accelerating it. So it isn't simply natural decomposition out in the wild. It is actually specifically and legally defined as contained and accelerated conversion. To date, 12 states have legalized natural organic reduction. Washington, Colorado, California, Oregon, Vermont, New York, Nevada, Maine, Arizona, Maryland, Delaware, and Minnesota. And Georgia recently passed legislation, and we're waiting for their governor to sign the bill. So that'll be number 13 very soon. I believe there are 11 states where there's pending legislation as well. Okay, I want to tell you a little bit about the place that we built. And I'll start by saying, please come and visit us if you haven't yet. We love to give tours. Most of the PMA and co-op funeral home staff have come through to see our place. I'm betting that many of you on this webinar have done that as well. But if you haven't yet, or if you want to come through again, please book a tour on our website. We just love to show you around. Because I have a background in design and architecture, I have led the creation of Recompose with a design eye, and we do feel that the intentional design of the place does really matter. And it may even have mattered the most in the early days when we were saying to the world, hey, we think we should have this new form of disposition. Let's compost humans. That concept could be taken as pretty out there. And so leading with good design felt like a way to mitigate any feelings of this is a really weird idea and turn those feelings into actually, this is a really beautiful idea. So it doesn't always work, but I do believe that leading with good design is really helpful anytime you're trying to do something that's as radical as human composting was back in the day. I think it's kind of interesting to be saying back in the day now, we've been 5 years operating. There's numerous providers, 12 states and counting. And I'd say that the idea is no longer radical, although lots of people still haven't heard about it. So we do want to always be getting the word out that this option exists. This is our lobby. You can see the moss wall on the left there. You can see we have way too many plants in the facility. I think we're like at 50 or something like that. And then in the background, you can see the gathering space, which we've designed for folks to come and have ceremony or a memorial service if they choose. Here's a picture of the gathering space, and you get the sense that it is really focusing the design on the natural world and the idea of returning to the earth. And that's something that we incorporate through design over and over in the facility. We have had families of many faiths come through and use our services. We have had various leaders of faith standing at that podium and presenting, and it has been such a pride and joy for me to watch faith leaders weave the religious tenets with the natural processes and really connect this idea of transforming a body into soil with the person's faith. It continues to really delight and astound me that this is not just an option for the non-religious. Though I will say, as a non-religious person, human composting does satisfy some of the need I feel for meaning when it comes to the end of life. So returning to the natural world for me personally is about becoming part of something greater than myself. This is one of my favorite rooms in the facility. It's called Cedar. That is not a real body. That's a cardboard body we call Fern. I'm not sure why we named this body Fern, but we did. And Cedar is a place for a much smaller gathering of folks, maybe 4 to 6 people can comfortably gather in Cedar. Our team of funeral directors is trained and very encouraging around community death care and helping friends and family if they want to care for the body before it is laid into a composting vessel. This space is really designed for that kind of care, whether it's brushing the person's hair, doing their nails, simply sitting in silence or in prayer. All of that can happen here in Cedar. So what do Recompose clients do with the soil? Well, to date, about half of our clients bring some or all of it home to use on gardens or scatter in a special place. The rules around scattering soil, if you're curious, are the same as they are for scattering cremated remains from cremation. So as long as you have permission from the landowner, you can scatter that soil. The bonus is that it's going to be nutrient rich and even better for the plants that you scatter it on than ashes would be. And then about the other half of our families donate the soil to Recompose's land program. So our land program is made up of nonprofit organizations. We currently work with 4 that are focused on restoration and conservation work. And when they need soil, we are able to donate it from our clients so that they can use it on projects from, let's see, planting seedlings to meadow restoration and nourishment. And right now, our nonprofit land partners are all over the state. It's nice because if you don't want a full cubic yard of soil after someone's died, you could take just a bag, or some people take 3 bags and a little box, and then donate the rest to the land program. So we're finding that a lot of clients like to do a combination of that donation and take home. And once in a while, our clients ask that we spread some in our gardens outside at our facility, and we are so grateful when that happens. This is a picture of one of our funeral directors spreading some soil that a client donated to us for our garden outside. And we found that top mulching, or what's it called? Top dressing. Using the compost we create as a top dressing is one of the best ways we found to use it, because we use a lot of wood chips in the process, and so the end result is a little bit mulchy, and so it's really great to just top dress a garden with the soil. So that's what this image is here. And this is one of my favorite shots of one of our land partners. This nonprofit has walking trails and is actually based on Vashon. So beautiful, beautiful land partner here. And so I'm coming to the end of my talk today, but I'm, again, really looking forward to some questions from Casey. And I wanted to just make sure I covered that Recompose, again, is full service funeral home. We offer pre-planning with our program that is called Recompose, obviously, and that's a funeral trust. And we have lots of information about that on our website, recompose.life. We also recently started a program that we call the imminent pathway. So if you or a loved one has a diagnosis and you want to start the conversation about what working with Recompose would be like, you'd actually talk with Laura right here about the imminent pathway. And that's a way to kind of get your ducks in a row, if you will, when you know there's a diagnosis and the time is coming. And finally, of course, we have at-need services, which means if someone dies and you didn't expect it, or you didn't call us ahead of time, you're welcome to just pick up the phone and call us. We'll answer all times of day or night, and we can get you started in the process. So to finish up, I just want to say, gosh, we've come a long way. I think if I had to choose a goal for the next 30 years, it would be to have human composting grow and be available everywhere, and actually to overtake cremation as the main form of death care in the world, because you can only imagine what benefit it would be to the planet if we were turning all bodies, or most bodies, into soil, so that they can go on to grow new life and nourish the planet. So thank you so much. I look forward to some questions. Oh, and one last thing, please come and follow us. Come to our website, recompose.life, but also follow us on social if you do that sort of thing at Recompose Life. And you can find me at Katrina Spade. Thank you. Thanks for all those hearts and claps. Also, that's very nice.
Thank you, everyone in the chat, for chiming in and thanking Katrina for your time. Katrina, lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for stopping by and telling us more about Recompose. I definitely appreciate hearing your vision of hearing natural organic production overtake cremation in 30 years.
30 years.
I do think this is an achievable goal. I think people took a long time to get adjusted to cremation when it first came out, and this is really the first time that there's been any challenge to this since early 1900s. We're talking the 10s and 20s that was becoming legalized in this country. So it's very fun to think about where we'll be. After only 5 more years, we find ourselves here.
Yeah.
Katrina, we both work with a lot of funeral directors, and I'd love to ask you about one of the sometimes underrated aspects of funeral industry work, which is the toll that it takes on the funeral industry workers who perform these laborious tasks. It includes transportation people from the first pickup of deceased to the embalmers and funeral directors that are doing the dressing and casketing for those in their care. Tell me more about the funeral directors at Recompose and how they're different in their responsibilities, or maybe which aspects they get to highlight more than maybe atypical for an average funeral director.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, funeral directing is such a fascinating profession. And as you touched on, there are so many aspects that come under the umbrella of what you do as a funeral director, and they're really disparate. So our funeral directors are really, absolutely expert at the logistics when someone dies. So that's the first thing that I would think of when I think of what a funeral director skill set includes. They are in charge of, working with hospice care or the next of kin when someone's actually died and figuring out how we're going to get the person's body to us, how to do the death certificate and other paperwork filings and all that stuff. And then at the same time, they are responsible for the care of the physical body when it arrives. And so at Recompose, for example, we don't embalm bodies. You can probably understand why, because embalming is in direct conflict with natural decomposition. But our funeral directors still do care for the bodies, prepare them for laying them into a composting vessel. So that's a very different thing than the logistics, right? Caring for a physical body. I often think that human composting and really all of funeral directing it's just about as analog as you can get, really. It's like you cannot make an app that will care for a body. And I don't know when AI will possibly be able to do that either, and probably don't want to think about it either. So they're doing the logistics, the care of the body, and then our funeral directors at Recompose are all trained celebrants. So if there is not a family member or a leader of faith that wants to run a ceremony, our team can run that ceremony. And so that's a very different thing than caring for the bodily logistics. So these folks are trained in all of that, and it's a really amazing combination of skill sets. And then in terms of, part of creating Recompose was my attempt, or still is my attempt, to change the way the funeral industry works. And that includes trying to really uplift and support the folks doing the work of death care. So we have great vacation policies and benefits, and we work really hard to make sure that on-call scheduling is something that's manageable for our team.
Well, this sounds a bit different than I think most people have in their head as the image of what it means to be a funeral director. The being the celebrant themselves, the handling of some materials, hay and alfalfa. We're almost getting back to some farmer type roots in the funeral director line of responsibilities.
Well, actually, at Recompose, what I just described are the funeral director. That's our services team. We also have a soil team. So when you start to look at the process of composting humans, the funeral directors are passing off that. There's a journey, right, where our bodies are arriving at Recompose, and over time we're transforming into soil inside that facility. And there's a pass off that happens from our services team to our soil team, just as the body is being laid into the composting vessel. Our soil team are certified natural organic reduction operators. And they are more like the farmers in this scenario. Our soil team manages the process inside the vessel and is responsible for the transformation into soil itself. And so they're the ones that are actually working with the wood chips, alfalfa, and straw to lay that bed of material in the vessel, and actually working to screen and sort the soil when it's complete. One of the things that that team has reported loving is when a family comes to pick up the soil, they often get to meet the soil team. They've met the services team at the front end of everything. They're meeting the soil team at the other end of the process. It's a pretty special time.
Beautiful. Sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for the customers and visitors to your facilities to get to interact with different levels of staff. That's beautiful. There's 2 questions in the chat that are pretty related I'd love to ask you. Carolyn Hyatt asks, what happens to implants and to teeth? And Twig Mills asks, what happens to the bones and things like precious metals?
Great questions. So after the time in vessel, which is about 1 month that the body is transforming inside of that composting vessel, our team removes the soil and they screen and sort at that point for bone, teeth, metal, plastic. Sometimes we've got different various things in our bodies. And we recycle the metals. And unless the family want them back, we recycle those metals, and any funds that we receive for those recycling goes to our community fund, which supports folks who can't afford the full price. So it's a kind of a beautiful side cycle happening right there. And the bone we reduce mechanically, much like happens in cremation. And that bone that's reduced gets incorporated back into the soil for the curing phase. The curing phase is the second phase of composting, and it's where the microbial activity is finishing and the soil is drying out a little bit. And it's only after cure that we give back the soil to a family or donate it to the land program. I think I forgot one of the questions, but I might have got them all there.
Questions about implant, teeth, bones, and metals. I think we covered it.
Okay, great.
Another question from Dennis. If a death occurs in another state, how can you handle the transportation without embalming?
Well, first, great question, because about 20% of Recompose's clients are currently coming from out of state, which I think is a pretty high number. The great news is well, I guess it's great news. The good news is it's quite common for bodies to be shipped via plane. So Recompose didn't have to invent this idea. It's frequent that a person might die on vacation, say, and have to be flown back to their home state. So most funeral homes are really familiar with the process of getting a body on a plane so that it can be sent somewhere else. Once in a while in states, we have to sort of tick a box for religious exemption, but most states do allow transporting a body on a plane unembalmed. You do have to cool the body and have it in a leak-proof container, but you don't have to embalm it.
Very nice, thank you. I've got one last question for you, Katrina. And this one's out there trying to help some of our members. So many people are still learning about natural organic reduction for the first time. And PMA members, they might know what it is, but they may have some trouble explaining the option to their loved ones who maybe haven't heard of it before. What do you recommend to our listeners who are thinking about NOR, maybe for themselves, and planning that first conversation with their family members about their choice?
Well, a couple resources I can point you to. Number one, if you're local, bring them in for a tour. And you're going to learn so much in being in the place. I think really satisfies a lot of that curiosity and makes clear a lot of those questions. We also have quite a few resources on our website at www.recompose.life, L-I-F-E. And then that includes some short videos that are on our, I think, on our press page. And those can be an easy entree to what the process is. I think King 5 did a video and it's on there. It's kind of nice because it's bite-sized and it'll give you a good sense of the process. Another way you might approach it is to just start talking about all the options. Oh, did you know there's this option in Washington State? and just start talking about it. And I've been surprised over and over again where people, the first thing they say is, "What? No, thank you. No way." And then the next few minutes later, it's, I've given it a little bit of thought and it kind of makes sense to me. So a little bit of time baked in there is also a good thing, because once you've introduced the subject, give it a day or two and see how it goes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more to that. These conversations can be hard. Having a bit of time, having that space to chew on these new information, I think that is very important. And so much about the end of life planning process is considered sad or even taboo to talk about. So many people end up avoiding having these conversations. My advice, especially given this newer option for natural organic production, is I recommend that people focus on their own excitement and positive reasons for why they want to do this option. I think a lot of people that haven't heard of it before can at least understand and see that excitement and joy that someone else is feeling. And so that maybe helps bridge them from where they're coming from to why is someone interested in this? Why is this thing bringing them joy? There might be something to investigate here.
I like that.
Peggy Wolf has an interesting question about regenerative agriculture. Katrina, do you know if any of your land trusts or maybe somehow involved with Recompose that you are connected in to regenerative agriculture work?
Not that I know of. One thing that's been interesting as the agriculture piece kind of makes me think of it is that there's been various concerns about growing food with compost made from humans. And so Recompose's official stance is, yeah, use it on ornamentals, use it on trees. If you want to grow a fruit tree, I think it's pretty obvious, maybe not, but I can tell you that it's okay to eat fruit up there from when there's human compost down here. And some states, I believe Colorado, for example, put it into law that you can't grow crops for commercial consumption with human compost. So something about that, again, the regenerative agriculture made me go that food direction. So official stance is put it on ornamentals. There's so many beautiful things to grow and nourish. In terms of the work that our land programs do, I don't think I haven't seen them talk about regenerative agriculture, more conservation, and then regeneration of wild lands, or rewilding, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I think this is such an interesting, I'll almost say like consequence, maybe unforeseen circumstance of once we got composting legalized, now there's this situation of, okay, someone in urban Seattle passes away and gets turned into soil, and there's an abundance of soil left over if they're not able to take it back to their studio apartment. So I think this is a really interesting conversation that we get to have for the first time, which is, what are we doing with this soil that still has this sacred and sentimental value? So I'm definitely excited that you have so many options for the land trusts available. I know a lot of people take walks in these kinds of preserves and things to commemorate their loved ones. So I think that's a very beautiful option. And I'm excited to see what happens in the future as this option gains a little bit more traction. Katrina, reaching the end of the meeting, so I'm going to pass back to Megan Walker in just a second. But thank you so much for giving us some more of your time and attention here. Everyone watching, please do go to recompose.life. If you want to go sign up for a tour, that's the place to do it. You can see all their pricing information as well as a lot more explainers. Like Katrina said, it's helpful sometimes to send these articles to people if you need to explain what these options are to loved ones.
Casey, if I could for just a minute, I just want to say again a big thank you to People's Memorial Association for the work you do, going all the way back to the legislative advocacy, and especially around transparency and pricing and getting it all out there. By the way, there was a question in somewhere about pricing. It's all over our website, so if you want to know, hop on the website, you can find it. We love to be forward with that information as well. But I really just want to thank you for the work that you and People's Memorial Association do. We're glad to be like allies in this space. So thanks.
Yeah, I could not be more pleased. Another thought leader, mover, and shaker in this industry, Katrina Spade. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
with that, I'm going to pass it back to Board President Megan Walker. Megan, bring us home.
Thank you, Casey. And thank you so much, Katrina, for joining our annual meeting again and all you've done to elevate Washington death care. Your work has created so much progress for PMA's members and our state that I hope you know how much we thank you for your continued work. A reminder to all the PMA members watching, Recompose is one of PMA's partner funeral homes. So if you want to use their funeral home someday or prepay using their pre-compose plan, you can receive a 15% discount thanks to your PMA membership using code PMA-15. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm going to announce the winners of our raffle. We have 4 items to win, and I'll read each name along with which basket you've won. And a member of our staff will reach out to you shortly to ensure delivery. We've randomized our selection based on the number of tickets everyone bought digitally. And without further ado, the first winner of today's raffle is Jacqueline Lynch, who will receive the Resting Waters Pet Funeral Home gift basket. Our next raffle winner is Janine Michelsons, who will receive the Recompose gift basket. Third raffle winner is Susan Mulkern, who will receive the Jonathan Bowman gift basket. And the final winner is Marcia Crivello. You're the winner of the People's Memorial Association gift basket. Thank you again to everyone who donated. Our staff will reach out to you to arrange delivery of your basket and send donation receipts to all who supported us. As you saw today, PMA is primarily supported by individual members like you. So thank you again for your generous support in keeping our education mission and paid staff available to serve you. If you haven't given this year, please consider giving today or sending a loved one the gift of a PMA membership to help our organization grow and sustain itself. I also want to take a second to thank our generous donors one last time today. A Sacred Passing is a Seattle area nonprofit with the mission to guide and assist people towards a more conscious dying experience while honoring individual autonomy. They work to actively dismantle systems of oppression as they present in death and dying through education, care, and advocacy. Gentle Passages Doula Collective is a group of 5 educators empowering individuals to offer compassionate end-of-life care with a mission to create a community of trained death doulas to empower compassionate end-of-life care for individuals and their loved ones. End of Life Washington has worked since 1988 to elevate the standards for end-of-life care in Washington and played a crucial role in reforming medical practice for the terminally ill. Their approach of providing direct service, advanced planning resources, professional partnerships, community education, and advocacy has helped transform patient-centered care across Washington and beyond. Lastly, I want to thank Jonathan L. Bowman, attorney at law, PS, for sponsoring People's Memorial Association this year. Jonathan is a PMA member and the managing partner of Jonathan L. Bowman, a Seattle law firm which focuses on estate planning, elder law, probate, real estate law, business law, and marital and domestic relations matters. With that, thank you all for attending PMA's annual meeting this year. Congratulations to our raffle winners, and to any who need help with their end-of-life preparations, please reach out to People's Memorial Association through our website, email, or give us a call. Thank you to the staff and board members for making today's meeting possible. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.